Pittsburgh Steelers fans, Matty P here with an episode of Steelers Touchdown Under. It has been a long time since I've been able to do videos. I apologize to the Steelers TDU community for that. It has been wild on the personal and professional side, and there's been a lot going on, and I'm promised that after the draft we will get back to normal, resume a normal set of programming. It's been wild. Been doing a lot of travel for work as well, and that's come into play. Traveled like the week that all the free agency happened, so that was really tough. Obviously, Steelers, it's been a long time since I've had a chance to do a video, so Steelers have gone and got Metcalf and made that trade, invested a lot of money there. They don't have a quarterback. Everyone will want to know my opinions on Aaron Rodgers. I will give them over the draft weekend. We'll do some stuff across the draft weekend. We'll do some stuff with Marky D of Steeler Nation Australia. Shout out to him as always. Hopefully we'll even tee something up with Shannon soon as well, and get a bit of global perspective in there as well. But lots and lots coming, and what we're going to try and resurrect the channel. So, today, wanted to talk about my top 75 players. This is always something I struggle with each year, and by struggle with is I enjoy doing it, but getting it down to 75 is hard. This year was interesting. I struggled to get to 50 prospects that I genuinely liked the Steelers getting across all 3 days. And then I found myself being particularly harsh, so I opened up the lens on it. And then I found keeping it to 75 pretty interesting. Now, some of these players, the last time I did do some videos, a little while, a couple of weeks back, or some weeks back now, as part of a month ago, I've talked about some of the day one guys, so we won't spend a stack of time on them, but obviously this video is coming out on the day one of the draft, round one, but I wanted to get this out before the draft starts, and that will make sense when I start talking through the players. So, let's jump into it with the day one guys. Now, I always stagger my top 75 by the days. I think that's a better way to look at it than go round by round by round, because players, there's going to be runs on position, there's going to be teams that move up and down, and I like that way of doing it. So, let's focus on the first set of guys. Travis Hunter, I can't not put him as a top prospect for the Steelers. I didn't put Cam Ward there because he's going to be off the board, right? And the Titans aren't trading out a number one. But it's interesting, when you do a mock draft, you can get Cam Ward in the 20s, right? And that people say, well, that shows you the mock draft. But you can actually do that. I had some really interesting mock draft results. I haven't done as many this year as I do usually, just to muck around. I might actually share some of that over the weekend as well, in between the rounds, and see how that looks. But there's some interesting things that I pulled up, and trading back is a big piece. I'd love to see the Steelers trade back. That's going to sound crazy, but if some of their guys aren't on the board that I'm going to mention now, I actually don't think the Steelers should pick at 21. Trade back, get yourself picks. Even if you don't get your second rounder this year, get a pick for next year. The Steelers need as many picks as possible so they can draw and draft their future franchise quarterback. So with that, if you guys can see the names in front of me, and I will go through each of them, you're going to see that Shedeur Sanders is not there. I am not a fan of picking Shedeur Sanders at 21. Am I going to sit there and spit chips about it? Absolutely not. But I am not pro that move. I think that's very, very short-sighted when there's plenty of other guys that can contribute. So, look at these names. Mason Graham, he's not realistically going to be there, but I've got to put him there as the top defensive prospect. Darius Alexander could go anywhere in the back of the first into the second, but I think he is someone that has got, the size of the bloke, 350 pounds. I think he's had a really fast acceleration. He's had a stack of pressures. I think this guy is going to be someone that, even don't matter what round he's drafted in, he's going to have a long NFL career. I'm really big on Derek Harmon. If he's available and Steelers are picking, you pick Derek Harmon. I'm all for it. Now, Emin Warrior, the safety, I think he is awesome pick. He's probably a luxury when you've got Minka and you've got Deshaun Elliott, but Deshaun Elliott can do stuff in the slot. But you get Nick in, you have an ability to move Minka. And I know that sounds like heresy, but if the Steelers actually want to keep Highsmith, TJ Watt, they've got Metcalf on the roster, they need some money for QB, they might need to move some cap. And you bring him in and you've got some options there. And I'm not saying you can replace the Mick Fitzpatrick is like a general at the back there, and the Wayne Marshall's the troops, but he is expensive. But he's a Mike Tomlin favorite. Then Will Johnson and Yade Barron as well. Barron, as a Longhorns fan, Barron is incredible. Barron could do a lot for the Steelers. I know the Steelers obviously got Darius Slay and Joey Porter, but what Barron could do in the mix, particularly in the slot and the nickel, give you some versatility as well. I like that pick. Barron You don't regret picking Barron is what I'll say there. Next, I got a pair of wide receivers in, and this is not ranked in the order of what I'd pick them in the order because obviously Genty's down there, but Golden and Ibuka, really good character with Amika by all accounts. Matthew Golden, again, is a Longhorn, super quick, big playmaker when the time is needed. He did it down the stretch for the Longhorns, so really like Matthew Golden. Ashton Genty, I don't think he'll be there when the Steelers pick, but he's a freak. And there's good running backs on in the other days of the draft. You will see that I don't have Amarian Hampton there. I don't have that because look, if you draft him at 21, fine. But I think unless the Steelers are going to get someone that's like a Genty, Saquon Barkley kind of type in the first round, don't go running back. You can get running backs later of value in this draft. Josh Simmons, Will Campbell, awesome tackles. Now, you probably wonder where I put tackle there. I put tackle there because I do think Fatanu ends up being a guard in this league, and if you go pick one of these tackles, you're not going to be upset. McMillan there's a lot of jury out on him now. Didn't have as good 2024. He was, before the season, rumored to be like the number one wide receiver this year. Then he had an average college year, so it'll be interesting to see where he ends up going. But if you trade back in the draft in round one and he's there late, go for it. And then Tyler Booker. Now, I was at pains not to put Donovan Jackson there. Tyler Booker is an offensive lineman. I said this to Marky D when we were texting the other night. Left guard, or guard in general, because you can move, meant to blank, like I drafted last year at North Dakota. It's going to come in a sec. But you can move those blokes around. I think the Steelers need to get this offensive line set, and if you get a young guard there to replace Siamalu, that is, like next year, that is a really big deal for them. It's Mason someone. I'm just having a complete mental blank on it. But I actually think this is really important for the Steelers to do, is get a guard in this draft. Otherwise, it's a priority position next year, and then you're forced into making a move when you need picks to be able to move up and get a franchise quarterback. So that's why Tyler Booker is on the list there. All right, let's move on to the day 2 players that I have. We have 34 players on day 2 that are a focus in my mind. Google's not going to let me do that, so we're just you have to bear with day 1 and day 2 together. And of course, I've shrunk the screen while I've done that, so that's always great. I'm not going to give you any surprises there on the Shitter Sanders piece. As I said, I don't have a first round grade on him, so that's not a surprise. We'll actually fix that back up. Cool. All right, so day 2, the guys I've got. Now, appreciate, there's guys I've got on this list I know have day one ratings on them, can go in day 1, totally get it. But this is how I've particularly chosen to do it, based on my grades and the priorities there. The Steelers can only pick one player on day 1. Day 2, they don't have their second round pick, so they're picking less, but there's more options. It's easier to trade back into it. So Kenneth Grant, worthy in the first round, so he's worthy on the second round. Maxwell Hairston, the cornerback, quite like him actually. I think he could be really interesting, but I put in my day 2 well before they got Slay, and I think with cornerback and no second round pick, maybe you don't go there. Michael Williams, I know some people in the chat have liked him before as well, so put him in there. I do think he's worthy of that. I do think getting a DT in the first 2 days of this draft or D lineman is important to learn under Cam Hayward. Walter Nolan's there as well. Again, you might see him go in the back of the first if there's a run on DTs, but he's there. Trey Amos, a DB I really like, or cornerback. Like the look of Lathan Ransom. You can tell I always want to get a big safety. Like the look of him. He'd be really helpful if he falls, particularly in round 3. You can get him. Zaire Thomas, who had a visit with the Steelers. He's another cornerback. Big body guy, looks good. Tyleik Williams, Alfred Collins. Much more of a fan of Alfred Collins because I've seen him more. I moved him out at day 1. I thought he might have a better draft process. But if you got him in the 3rd round, you would not be upset. Shamar Turner as well is in there. RJ Mickens, the safety out of Clemson. He's an intriguing guy for me. I could see him moving anywhere between back end of the 2nd and into the 4th. And if he falls, he could be a really interesting player for the Steelers as well, as a future for Deshaun Elliott. Andrew Mbuka, Mukuba, sorry, Andrew Mukuba. I loved what he did for the Longhorns. He was one of my favorite guys to see live when I went to Longhorns last year. I really like him because he can be whilst he's not a big body guy, free safety, he can play in the slot, you can play him in dime packages. He could be a very useful player for the Steelers. And again, if he's sitting there at the top of the third, you go get that bloke. You don't regret it. Then there's Quandarius Robinson. Now, this is a guy that I really came across my process late in the draft, just because, in this draft process, just because I wasn't really focusing on edge rusher, outside linebacker. But his stats are pretty sick. He's a pretty crazy guy. Like, again, if he's someone he's I don't know where he's going to sit on a Steelers board. But if that guy has a fall in anywhere to late into day 2, God forbid, even early day 3, kind of interesting move there. So I'd don't sleep. That guy's going to be a threat in this league. Kevin Winston Jr., the safety as well. When I had 50 players, he wasn't in there. He's in there now. I think he's a great player. Obviously he's got the injury. He's someone that I think could be familiar with the Steelers. So it'd be interesting, but I've got 4 safeties here. I don't know if the Steelers are really taking a safety on day 1 and day 2. But again, this is my draft good players list. And then there's Elijah Huzzie, who you could see him go anywhere mid day 2 to anywhere on, apart from probably the start of the 6th on day 3. Really good traits, good tape. Not necessarily in the top 10 cornerbacks in this draft at the moment on most people's list, but this guy should have a good career. Like the traits there, really active motor, kick returner, really quick feet. Could be a really, really, really good player once you get adjusted to the league. All right, now we're going to zoom out a little bit because we've got a lot more players on the offensive side of things. Shadow Sanders, not going to really talk about him too much. There's enough people talking about him to the Steelers. Gray Zabel, he's a guy that should go in the first round, but I've got him here in the second because the Steelers on their 1 pick. He's not worth trading back in the first 4. He played a lot of tackle at North Dakota State, but he projects as an inside offensive lineman in the league. Mason Taylor, the tight end, he's a cool guy. I don't think the Steelers will be drafting tight end on day 2, but he's got a day 2 rating for me. Luther Burgeon, the third, is in there as well. Again, I think he's probably slipped out of the first round for most people unless there's a run on wide receiver. Quinton Judkins is there as well. Donovan Jackson, offensive lineman, as I said, he's really, really intriguing guy. If you got him day 2, I think he'll be a top 42 pick. But if you could get him on day 2, you'd be cheering. Early day 2, the Steelers have to jump back in the second round to grab him, though. Unless I could even see him someone grabbing at the back of the first, honestly. There's Caleb Johnson. I kind of would prefer Caleb Johnson than Judkins. Now that could be really polarizing amongst the listeners, but I just think Caleb Johnson's a proven bloke. I really like it. Armin Membu, again, a guy probably going in the first round, a tackle, but got him in there. Jalen Milroe, I flicked around giving him a day 2 to day 3 grade, but he will go on day 2, so we'll put him there. Jaden Higgins, big body wide receiver, again, he could be really helpful for the Steelers, particularly if they do move Pickens during the draft process, or want someone to give them someone that they can move on from Pickens with. Could be really helpful. Jaden Blue is a smaller running back, under 200 pounds, but again, played for the Texas Longhorns. A big playmaker, big speed. Could be really helpful for the Steelers. Change of pace back, give them a speed weapon alongside Jalen Warren. Let Jalen Warren bruise him up, and then let Jaden Blue come in and kill it. Cam Scatterbo, you can't not have him. The effort he showed in the college football playoffs last year. Devin Neal out of Kansas, massive running back, big numbers as well. Hard to be put past him. He's someone that probably I think does end up, unless there's a run on RBs, he ends up an early round 3 guy. And again, it'd be pretty intriguing to be able to, or pretty attractive to take him there. Got Jackson Dart on day 2. I haven't decided with any of these quarterbacks apart from Cam Ward on where I really sit them between rounds. Not necessarily day 2 and day 3, but rounds 2 and rounds 4. But anyway, put him there. Gunnar Helm, tight end out of the Longhorns. He could go anywhere between back into 2, early 5. I think if you can get him anywhere mid 3 onwards, it's a steal. He's a good playmaker. His blocking could use a little bit of work, but that's coming. Jalen Conyers, he is a mass. I don't know if many people are hearing about this bloke, but again, came up kind of late in the draft process for me. But massive 260-pound tight end. If I've got the right guy there. Yeah, some real interesting stats. Doesn't necessarily have a stack on the board, but it's done some interesting things. Got some good averages. He could be a real weapon, especially when you've got Washington already in the mix. It could be a really good hybrid between Freiermuth and Darnell. Miles Frazier, the offensive lineman out of LSU, really good player. Jonah as well, another offensive lineman. And then you've got Amari and Hampton there as well. So that rounds out my day 2 players. And then we can move into round 3. So round 3, we'll start off with the offensive guys this time. Will Howard, the quarterback, now he probably goes in round 4. I could see if there's a run on the quarterback position. But Will Howard had him there along with Quinn. Actually got quite a few quarterbacks in this one. Quinn Ewers, Tyler Shock, and Tommy Mellott. Now, Tommy Mellott's a guy back into the 7th, get him as an undrafted free agent out of Montana State. I've watched some Montana State games. I watched one when we were in Montana and another one I watched parts of as well. He's a good little quarterback. And little because he's shorter on that side. Quinn Ewers, I saw him a lot as a Longhorns fan. I do think he's Kenny Pickett 2.0 in many ways, but a bigger arm. I don't think his decision-making is great. There's been a lot said about Tyler. But Will Howard is someone that I actually think he could have a good career in the league if he gets a chance. He's probably more of a backup guy long-term, but he is interesting. So that's the quarterbacks on this list. I'll then go through the wide receivers. Now, Nick Nat. Now, I put Torrey Horton here. Torrey Horton probably goes on day 2. I just, out of the other wide receivers, if I'm the Steelers and I'm picking, I have him more on an early day 3. Isaiah Bond there, you could see him go on day 2, but some character issues in there. He's fallen down the draft boards. That's why he's there as well on day 3. And Pat Bryant out of Illinois, he's fallen down the boards, but he can be productive in the right offense. But I'm going to talk about the other wide receiver, Nick Nash. I'm a big Nick Nash fan. Again, came on mid through the draft process for me with Nick Nash, but this guy, possession wide receiver, give him the ball in space, he can do things. Give him average depth of target. If you can give him a higher depth of target up the field, he can make some plays for you, catches anything. Not necessarily the quickest guy or is going to super agile. I think he had a 4.59 or 4.57 was his 40 time. But remember, Cooper Kupp had it in the 4.6s. I just like this guy as a possession wide receiver. I think he will go in the 5th or the 6th, but he's worthy of a round 4, being drafted in round 3 or round 4. I think in the right offense with the right quarterback, he's going to have a really good career. But we'll see. We'll see where he gets picked. Then you got DJ Giddens. Again, he's a guy who go on day 2. I had to separate the running backs across day 2 and day 3. Mitchell Evans, Caden Prescorn are there as the tight ends. He was kind of an interesting player to look up, Jaden Prescorn. Jake Majors is the center. There's not many centers in this draft out of Texas. I didn't want to leave him out. I don't think the Steelers doesn't nearly need to go for centers. There's also not a lot of guys in this draft that are guards that project as centers. But if he falls down the boards, because he's probably a late round 4, round 5 guy, if he's sitting there and he depending on what the Steelers are at with their draft board, not bad idea to go get a backup center. You go get a backup center. That's very helpful for what you want to do. You can't just rely on, Frazier being going to be fit all the time. Could be a helpful bloke. Do think he's got a bit of work to do. He's good in pass pro, needs a bit of work in run protection. Then you got Wyatt Millen out of Zach Frazier's West Virginia. He's an intriguing player. He's some really interesting stats. He's only like 1 sack in his career, according to PFF. Then you got Charles Grant out of William and Mary. He could go back into day 2, depending on if there's a run on tackles, but I have a early day 3 grade on him. And then on the defensive player front, Colin Oliver, again, a guy that could go anywhere back in a day 2, early day 3. Good outside linebacker, played some inside as well. Interesting sort of player. I sort of project him for the Steelers, a bit of Swiss Army knife, but kind of interesting player on the linebacker side of things. Then you got the DT, JJ Peegs, who plays a bunch of different positions out of Ole Miss. Again, you could see him with his versatility go back into day 2, but probably goes early day 3. Kobe Bryant and Melo Dotson out of Kansas State. Or Kansas. No, Kansas. Two cornerbacks out of there. Kobe Bryant probably goes higher than Melo Dotson, but two good late round cornerbacks. Got Huzzy in there as well. Denzel Burke out of Ohio State. Again, he could go on day 2. I have him early day 3. Joshua Farmer out of Florida State. Again, run on interior defensive lineman. He could also go in day 2, but I want him there in day 3. Deion Walker, the ginormous thing, he's 377 pounds, 6'7". This guy's huge. He might be down under the 350s now, but anyway, I've got him there early day 3. Danny Stutzman, the linebacker, and Kobe King and Jack Kaiser are 3 inside linebackers that I've got. Jack Kaiser, probably more of the coverage, fast guy, smaller. Danny Stutzman, all round. And he's getting underrated in some linebacker rankings that I've been listening to lately. Some people are sort of saying he's kind of being slept on. But I really like Kobe King out of Penn State. I watched some highlights of him, and I didn't get to watch a lot of I didn't really watch any Penn State football this year, but I watched some highlights from him, looked at some stats, looked at the sort of bruises he is. Considering like the Steelers, what they want to do, the Vince Williams history, losing Atlanta Roberts, I kind of like Kobe King, the idea of Kobe King coming in. I really kind of like that as a depth piece at linebacker. And then you've got Elijah Alston as well. He looks pretty cool. Like, if you get him late, he could be a good outside linebacker for you. And then you finish off with Keaton Crawford, the safety out of Nevada, bigger, strong safety type. Again, he's someone that, depending on where he sits on the Steelers board, you go grab him. But yeah, that is my technically 75 players across days 1, days 2, day 3 in the Steelers draft board, I guess my draft week board for them for 2025. I'm sure there's other guys that they're going to pick that I don't have here, but this is when I look at some key positions. This is it. Do I have a position I want them to pick the most? Yes, I do think D lineman is the most important, unless they get someone really good in round 1 that falls. I do think Derek Harmon is the pick there if he's available. Day 2, get yourself a running back. Get back into day 2 somehow, especially knowing you've got a lot of compensatory picks coming. Get yourself a corner and a running back, a safety and a running back, a wide receiver and running back if you trade. You get a wide receiver if you're going to be trading George Pickens. And then on day 3, get your depth quarterback. Get your, to back up with Mason Rudolph, because you probably, then you're trying to get Aaron Rodgers in. I don't think drafting Shadur gets you Aaron Rodgers. Maybe if you haven't picked a wide receiver, go get yourself a wide receiver. There's depth. Go get yourself a linebacker. Double up, get another offensive lineman as well. But that's kind of how I view it right now. But as I said, don't sleep on guard. If Booker or Donovan Jackson are there, or Gray Zabel potentially as well in the first, I'll be happy with any of those 3 guys on a 5-year deal. But I do like Donovan Jackson a bit more than Gray Zabel. I'm kind of just feeling that a bit more this year than what I think the order that other people might have. But Donovan Jackson, I just feel like is a slept-on prospect from everything that I've gone through. But you let me know in the comments. Do you have a favorite player? Have I missed someone out? Have I made a terrible mistake? Is there someone you really like? Do you agree with any of the people that I've put here? Is there a favorite player you like across day 1, day 2, or 3? Let me know in the comments. This video, I'm sure, will not just be watched on the opening day of the draft. It's designed for the whole weekend. You can look back on it after day 1. It's still going to be relevant. But yeah, as always, go Steelers.